Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever you are watching from. So this is Zahirul Puyan. In this video we are going to start a Selenium automation script from scratch, and we are going to go to advanced level. Like we are going to automate this test case, basically where we are going to automate, we are going to identify some of the critical objects like these type of objects, and we will be identifying some other objects like radio button and drop down list. So these are new, so I want you to bear with me. It might take up to 45 minutes, and I want you to watch this video for multiple times so that you completely understand what I did in this video, right? So let me start working on it. Let me start from the scratch. So I have started Eclipse IDE. So as I said, we are going to do a lot of things and everything will be from scratch, so it will be a very good. And one thing I want to tell you is we are going to learn TestNG framework. So this is a framework, right? We already did a lot of very basic discussion, but still you will be able to understand this. So TestNG, I'm going to bring TestNG from scratch as well. So say you'll have to watch this video multiple times to understand whatever we have done in this video, and feel free to ask me question in the class if you are not able to understand or if you have question on anything. Okay, so when I'm in this screen, I'm going to click on Workbench. I'm going to make it full screen. I'm going to remove all of this unnecessary window for me. And one other thing we are going to learn in this video, how to debug Selenium code. Okay, so I'm going to start a new Java project, and I'm going to name it as Mercury Tours Book. Okay, I'm going to say next, and I'm going to say finish. Okay, so I'm going to go there, inside there, right? Can you see SRC folder? I'm going to create a class. I'm going to create two classes. From one class I'm going to call, remember the approach that we are following here for this framework. We are writing our methods in a class. That is what we are calling library class, and then we have another class, caller class, from where we are calling those methods. Okay, so two classes. One is the caller class, another one is the library class, and we'll have another class for the highlighter. Okay, so everything I'm going to do from scratch. So if you take a look here, let me start a new class, new Java class, and then I'm going to name it as actually before I create a class, let me create a package. So under SRC I'm going to create first a new package, and in the package I'm going to name it as, you can give any name, Mercury Tours. Okay, finish. And then inside that package, we can have multiple classes. So I'm going to create a class. My first class is, I'm going to name it as caller, CLS caller. You can give any name, CLS caller. And then I'm going to have another class, CLS caller. You'll see that I have a class CLS caller, and then I'm going to have another class, another Java class, CLS library, right? And then I'm going to have another class, highlighter. So I'm going to name it as CLS highlighter class. Okay, CLS highlighter class. Finish. Now let me go to CLS library. right? In CLS library, okay. Before I go to CLS library, let me take you to the document where I have 3 test cases. Where I have, if you take a look, I have how many test cases? Mercury test positive login, Mercury test negative login, and verify Mercury booking process, right? So these three test cases in the caller class, right? I'm going to create 3 test cases first. So in test.ng, if you want to create test case, this is your annotation at test, okay? And there my first class is public void Mercury tours positive login, right? This is my first test case, and now can you see that it is complaining? It do not know, it doesn't know what is this thing, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, and then when I click on it, right, you will see that add test.ng library. You'll be adding the test.ng library, and then this complaint again you will be clicking, and can you see import test annotation? So now this error message should be gone. So I have the positive login. Let me copy it, right, and let me go there. This is Mercury tours negative login, negative Mercury tours negative login, and then we have the last test case, which is Mercury tours book ticket, okay? So we have these 3 test cases. You understand this, like why I have to create this 3 test case with add test notification. You will be creating as many add test notification as many as you know, depending on your number of test cases. For each of the test cases there will be one add test annotation, okay? So my goal here, right, my goal here to automate this test case. We already did video for the other 2 test case. We are going to do this test case, right, Mercury booking process. Now if you take a look, right, let me name this as it is appearing here. Normally it is better if you name your test case as it is appearing in your yeah, let me name it in that way. Remember that method name will not have any spaces, right, will not have any spaces, and each of the it is lower camel case, right? The first word will be starting with the lowercase letter, and every other word will be uppercase, starting with uppercase letter, okay? Now, so remember, positive login, negative login booking process. For every test case, right, for every test case you have to open browser, right? You have to open browser. So to open browser, basically you'll have to what we do in Selenium, we initialize browser, at what browser we are going to execute our test, and we have to set up the path and those stuff, right? So for every test case, right, you have to open browser. Let's say you have to open browser for every test case. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a method. Remember, in test.ng, if you want to execute a particular method before every test case, right, that method will be started with before annotation, before test annotation, okay, before test annotation. And what I want to do before test, like I want to let's say that I want to open browser on that before test method, right? So what I'll have to do, right, you can do anything, you can name it as initial words, you can name anything, right? In every class I'm giving a different name so that you familiar that it can be anything. So before test I am going to say, I'm going to open browser in it, public void open application or open browser, right, open application. So now this before test, it is complaining about that before test, right? um, actually this before test, and my method will be open application, but let's name it as initialize browser, and let me bring this annotation. So import before test annotation. Okay, now initialize browser. Inside initialize browser, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write my method there, right? Can you see inside my class library? So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a method, right? I'm going to have a method public void open application, public void open application. And to open application, what you will have to have, you will have to have a driver object, right? You will have to have a driver object, and this driver object we are going to use in all of the methods. So we are going to declare the driver object here in the public area so that we can use it throughout all of these methods, right? So if you take a look, WebDriver, we are going to run it in Chrome driver, so I'm going to name it as Chrome DRV, right? Chrome DRV. Now it will be complaining about that WebDriver, right? Because this WebDriver is a Selenium object, and we didn't. It will be asking, when you see create class WebDriver, when you see this, that means we didn't bring Selenium libraries with this test. So to bring Selenium library, what you will have to do, so first you notice, if you click on this balloon now, you will see that it will be asking you create. But when you have imported Selenium libraries, right? If you go to Java build path, configure Java build path, and then if you go to libraries, add external jars, right? If you go there, so where is our libraries? Here, right? Inside, if you have already downloaded, right? I have already downloaded, and I know that it is saved somewhere in my computer, and this is the place, right? So I'm going to get this two library from here, open, and then I'll go back there again, and then I have some more libraries over there. Those I'm going to shift down arrow. If you hold shift down arrow and open, all of the libraries will be there, and then you apply and close. Now if you click on this bubble, you will see that it will be asking you to import. Can you see? Now it is not asking you to, the create class is there, but first option is import WebDriver, because we have imported the Selenium libraries. Now we have imported the Selenium libraries, and then the next thing is, if you want to open a browser, before you open a browser, you will have to execute this one, system dot set property. Yeah, right. System dot what is my set property? System dot set property, right? Set property, and then you will have to give the name of the driver that you are going to run. We are going to run the test cases in Chrome driver, so for that syntax is WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver, and you will have to give the path of the Chrome driver from your hard drive. So let's say for my case, I have Chrome driver saved. I'm going to go to that place where I have Chrome driver saved. So for me, my Chrome driver is saved in the D drive, and then there is a folder called QA, and then there is another folder called Selenium automation. Actually, let me go there, Selenium automation, and then inside Selenium automation, right, can you see that I have a folder probably for let me see, what is that, scripts. So my drivers are here. Can you see inside this folder, Chrome driver.exe. So I'm copying this whole thing, and I'm going to put it here. And what is the name of my driver? You saw there it is. I'm going to go there. What is the name of this driver? Is Chrome driver.exe. right? So let's put it here, right, and then close this. So once we have this, the next step will be, to initialize. Remember that we have defined an object of this WebDriver, right? Now we are going to initialize that Chrome driver, right? Initialize that Chrome driver. Let me name it as lowercase, as variable name. There is a, way you declare it. You start with lowercase letter. Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver, and then semicolon. Now it will be complaining again. So what we will have to do, we will have to import Chrome driver related libraries here, right? Now using that Chrome driver, right, using that Chrome driver, we are going to open the application that we want to open. Chrome driver dot get, there is a syntax, and what do you want to open? You want to open, let me bring this website and I'll be putting that URL here. So new tools. So this is the URL that we are automating. So I'm copying this URL and I'm going to put it here, right? So I'm going to put this URL here. Now, so this is the method that will be opening the browser for me. But if you want to call this method, remember that you have to create an object of this class. Now let's go to the caller class, from where we are going to call all of these methods from the caller class. But remember that to call this method, you will have to create an object of that class. So what is the class name? This is the class name, and then let's say I'm going to define an object, lib object equal to new, and then what is the class name? This is the class name, right? So that is how you define an object of this class. Now why I am defining that object outside of any method? Can you see I am defining that object outside of any method? Why? Because I'm going to use this method. I'm going to use this method, right? I'm going to use this object inside all of these methods, right? So what I'm going to do here by using this method, I want before every test case, it will be opening the browser for me. So before test method, I have before test method that is going to be executed before each of this test method, right? So lib object dot, what is that open application, right? That is what we have written. Now let's say I'm just working on this one, right? I do not want, let's say I want to keep this. I will not have anything inside it. So I'm going to if you execute it now, right? If you execute it now, you will see that, let's see what it does. You will see that it will be opening the browser, right? You saw that it was able to open the browser. Let me see if the execution is done. Yeah, the execution is done. So you saw that. So it's supposed to open the browser before my test, right? So it has, if you take a look here, in this, in the test ng, right? How many test cases we have? Mercury tools, negative login, positive login, and booking process, right? All of this test case we have here, and it was executed. Now if you take a look, I have introduced here another method, that is after test. So we have before test here where we are opening the browser, and we have after test here where we are doing the cleanup works. Cleanup work means like we are closing the browser. Can you see I have written another method, close browser, there? If you go there, in close browser method I have closed that browser, right? If you now execute it, right? So now if you go to test ng result, right, can you see that 3 of the test cases is passed, all of them are passed, right? So let's go there, let's go back. Now remember, in every method, if you go to the output now console, you do not have a message. Can you see? You do not have a message, everything is system generated, right? So what you want to do in every method, you want, let's say in this method open application, right? What we are doing, let's say system.out.println, system.out.println, you provide this statement. What is the statement? We are opening application, opening application, okay? And then in the other method, what we are doing, we are closing application, right? So now if you execute, can you see we have a message opening application, right? And then after opening application, then it will be closing the application. Can you see now we have two custom messages where we have opened the application and then close the application, right? So what I'm going to do, this open application, I'm going to put it just before I open the application. That is where I'm opening application, right? Now if you execute it, you will see that it will be putting this message in the right place. Okay, let's move forward. So once I have opened application, the next task is I'll have to make sure that this application is open, right? This application is fully open. I'll have to verify something from this page that the application is loaded. Let's say I'm going to verify this. Can you see this image here? I'm going to verify this image before I do any further step, right? To verify that, I'm going to inspect this object. Inspect. I'm going to inspect again. Actually, yeah, I have it. Now, can you see? This is an image object. Can you see? This is an image object, and it has an src attribute. Right? This is the src, and this is the value of the src attribute, and then it has an alt attribute. So we are going to use this src attribute to identify that object. Now, remember that we have an attribute name, and we have an attribute value, and we have a tag name. What is the tag name? So I'm going to use, remember that I have provided you some syntax, right? So we have what? We have attribute name, attribute value, right? We have attribute name, attribute value, and tag name. So if you look at my document, somewhere I have provided you the syntax those you are going to use to identify this object. Now what are those syntax? Let me keep those syntax handy somewhere in my code, right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it here somewhere commented out. Let's say I'm going to put this one here in a notepad, right? Now what is the attribute we are going to use? By xpath, tag, attribute name, attribute value, right? You understand? There are find element, attribute name, attribute value. So to do that, let me write it for you. So my next method that I'm going to write is public void, and then I'm going to name it as verify logo, right? Verify logo. So to identify that object, how we will be identifying that object. Let's say I want to verify that object, if that object is there. First of all, you will have to identify that object, right? So I'm going to use my Chrome driver object, right here, Chrome driver dot find element by find element. Here I'm going to put by dot xpath. Now I am going to put the xpath expression here. What is the expression, right? In the xpath expression, it is going to be a double quoted one, and then it is going to be started with this pair of slashes. And then what is the xpath attribute we are going to use? First of all, if you take a look, what is that? First of all, you will have to provide the tag name, right? What is the tag in our case? It is img. Right? And then after putting that img, you will have to put a box bracket, start box bracket, close, and inside that now you will have to provide the attribute name. What is the attribute name we are going to use? src equal to you go there. If you take a look, right, can you see attribute name? So we have missed an @ sign. So before that src, I'm going to put a @ sign. And what is the value of that src? Let me go to the application. So this is the value of this attribute, right? I'm going to copy this. So now this value will be in the single quotation. So I put a single quotation here, and inside that I'm going to put, right? You understand now? So this is basically an object we have identified. This is an web element. So we are going to declare an web element. Here, web element, and then let's say I'm going to name it as web ele equal to this. So let me import this web element object in my test. So what I'm doing here, right, I'm putting the object of that element in that web ele object. Now the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to see if that object is available, right? So remember that we are using a global boolean variable that will be holding only true or false, right? I'm going to say result equal to, why I'm declaring that one as a global, because I'll be using it inside any method, right? So what is that? This object, I'm asking if this object is displayed, right? I'm asking if this element is displayed. So what it will do, web element, I'm asking, hey, is this element displayed? If it is displayed in the website, then I'll get a true value, and if it is not there, then I'll get a false value, right? Now I'm going to say if let's say if this object is there, what is that object? If result equal to true. So when you are logically comparing things, then you are putting that double equal. So if result equal to true, then okay, we are going to give a output message, system out println. Logo displayed. Else, if it is not displayed, then we are going to say else. I'm going to say again another print statement, logo didn't display. Logo didn't display. And what I'm going to do, what else I'm going to do is, now if you execute, right, if you execute, you will have to call this method first. So let's say, what is the test case that we are executing? This one. So I'm going to say liv obj dot this method verify logo, right? Now let me do this execution, save, and well, can you see this cleanup? I'm not going to do this cleanup. I'm going to keep it commented out, and the website to be displayed when I'm done. So I'm executing it, and right, it is opening the browser. Right, and let's see, I will not be able to see anything here, but I'll be able to see it in my output message. So if you take a look, opening application, logo displayed. Logo displayed came from where? Logo displayed came from this method. Result, if result equal to true, then it will be executing this line. So a result equal to true, and then it has executed this line. You understand? So if the result is not there, then I will not see the logo. Now the next thing, to make it visible, I'm going to introduce the highlighter method, right? For highlighter method, right, you will have to use a bunch of code, right? So that code, for every one of you, I'm just bringing it here for the highlighter method, right? So you'll have to bring some libraries here. Let me bring all of these libraries, import WebDriver, and then I'll have to bring web element, import web element, and then I'll have to bring this JavaScript, right? So this highlighter method, you already have this highlighter method. What I'm doing here, this highlighter method is taking an WebDriver object, taking an web element object, and it is creating an object of the JavaScript executor, right? And then by this JavaScript executor, we are executing a method where we are putting, what kind of highlighter we want to put on this web element, right? So let's say we want to put a solid highlighter, right? So now if you want to use this method, remember that you will have to create a class of this highlighter method, where we are going to use this highlighter method here in this class. So we are going to create an object of this highlighter method, obj hlt. You can give any name, new, right? And then I'm going to use this obj hlt here. If the object is displayed, then I'm going to highlight it, dot highlighter. And what I want to supply here, this driver. What is our driver? Chrome driver. I'm going to supply this Chrome driver here. And what is that object, right? Can you see this OABLE? That is what I'm going to supply. Now I'm saying if the object is displayed, then highlight it, right? So let me close this browser and let me do another execution. Can you see here that this object is now highlighted? It looks good, right? So this object is now highlighted with a rectangle, right? So I want everyone, you use this highlighter method, okay? So the next thing that we want to do, now that we have successfully verified that this page is there, in the same way we are going to input a value here, and then I'm going to click on sign on method. So So all of these things you are going to identify the object in the same way that I have identified in the previous object. To make the video shortcut, I'm going to do this work offline, and then I'm going to do a brief explanation how I did it. Okay, so yeah, I'll be doing some of the task offline, and then I'll be coming back to the Hey guys, now let's say that I have added 3 more methods here. Those methods are input value for username, input value for password, and click on login button, right? Let me see what is happening with this. Okay. Now if you come here, so input, I have the methods here. Input value for password, input value for username, right? And then click on login button. Now now if you take a look here, input value for username, right? We have identified that object, this one, and identified that object, both of them. If you take a look, right, if you inspect this object, let me inspect it from there where I have already have it. Now big screen. So now if you take a look, this object has a name, right? Name, username. I'm not using the attribute type to identify this object. Why? I'm trying to answer this question. Can you see this is a input tag? It has a type attribute and value. It has a name attribute and value. It has a size attribute and value. Now if you take a look, this is for username. If I do it for this one, you'll see that for this password, it is type password, right? Name password, size 10. I'm not going to use size 10 because both of these username and password has size 10. So if I am asking, let's say in a room there are 2 David, I'm asking, hey David, come here, then both of the David will be confused. Who is he calling? So this is why I'm not going to use this size equal to 10. Can you see both password and username has size equal to 10 attribute? I'm not going to use that because both of that has same attribute, so they are not unique. So what is unique here? This name, right? Can you see this name, password, name, username is unique. So another attribute that is different, type equal to text and type equal to password, I'm not going to use that because there could be, remember that if you in your screen, if you have 4 or 5 text box, all of them will have type equal to password, or if it is password, it will be password. If it is text, plain text, it will be type equal to text. So it will, again, there is a possibility that there might be more than one text box with type equal to text. So this name is more unique. So I have used this name attribute to identify this object for both of these. I have identified it, and then once it is there, and then I have highlighted it, and can you see username dot send keys? I have used that object. Can you see I put that object in username and then use that object to send a text to that text box, right? I have put that object in password text box and then use that object to send a value there. And then one thing that I have intentionally make mistake, if you take a look at this login, right? If you take a look at this login, inspect. So now can you see that this login is a, what is the tag? It is a input, and what is the name? It has a name, login, L-O-G-I-N, right? So if you go to the code, intentionally I put log I have removed that N. So I'll show you what actually it will be doing. How you will be, like, if your script fails, how you are going to troubleshoot, how you are going to find out where is the problem. So I saw that some of you are kind of confused. Okay, if the script fails, what to do? So for you guys, this will be important. So let's say I'm going to execute, and can you see this log I is incorrect. it is logged in. So now if I run it, so here my test case will be failing here. Can you see it was not able to identify that username object, and also let's see where it is failing, right? So now the issue, you will see that if you go upward, you will see the error message. First of all, you see you have provided, right? Can you see inputting password, right? Logo displayed, inputting password, inputting password is displayed, inputting password. So I have this password method called twice. So here can you see input value for password, input value for username. I didn't call that method, so let me do dot input value for username, right? Now let me execute it again. Right, now let's take a look where it is failing. So you go, can you see this console? That is where you are going to see where it is failing. Go up, keep going up, keep going up. Can you see you are inputting username is displayed, inputting password is displayed, right? And then click on login button after that. So let's see where I have click on login button. After that I see no more, right? One of the test case failed and two other passed. We have 3 test cases. So this verify login process failed, right? Let's take a look what is the message it is complaining of. Can you see no such element, unable to locate element, method xpath selector, input at name login, right? So that is where I'm going to go and I'm going to solve it. I'm going to put login. Okay, now once your login will be done, right? Once your login will be done, the next thing is for you to select this one way, right? And then select value from this drop down, right? Select value from this drop down. Now so you are going to identify this object. Can you see this one way object? Same way, the way you have identified other object. This is a little bit different. This is a little bit different. That is where I'm going to show you. So let me quickly identify this object and then I'll be showing you how you are going to identify this drop down, right? It is a little bit different, right? So let me quickly write code for this one way, how you are going to select this one way, and then I'll be coming back to the record. Now if you go back to the application, right, if you try to if you try to inspect this object, let me do another inspect. Now can you see this the tag name is input and the name is trip tag, right? Value is one way, right? I'm going to use this name attribute to identify that object. Name attribute or one way attribute, both will work in this case, right? Value equal to one way and attribute name value, or attribute name, both will work in this case, trip tag, right? So now if you go back and look at the code, can you see this? We have identified this object by value one way, and then we have result is displayed, and then we have highlight that object, and then we have click on it, right? So let me do a quick execution. Before I do this execution, I'll have to call this there. Let me call this from the caller library. So now if you execute it, right, can you see it was able to click on that one way radio button, right? Now the next thing is it will not be able to highlight this object for some limitation, but that's fine. We are going to select a value from this drop downs. So I'm going to do one of these drop downs live, and then the remaining drop down I will be doing offline. Now if you take a look, if you inspect this object, I'm going to inspect this object again. Now can you see this is a select object. So in order to identify elements from select object, there is a special syntax, and then there is an attribute name pass count, right? So let's go there in the code. So we are going to write a method here. We are going to write a method here, public void select passenger count. Here we are going to write the identification method. So what is that object, right? That object is select, right? Select, and then we are going to remember we'll have to declare an object of this select class, right? Now I'm going to say select object equal to new select, right? Now it will be complaining about this, so you'll have to import definition for the select object. Now here you are going to, now here inside this select you are just going to write the definition. You are just going to copy this, right? You are going to copy this whole thing, and then you are going to put it here. Now let's go there. So if you go to the application, right, so what is that? It is tag name is select, right? And then name of the attribute we are going to use is name, and then what is the value? Pass count. That is what we are going to use. So if you come here, what is the tag name? Tag name is select. What is the attribute that we are going to use? Name. And what is the right? That is what we are going to use, pass count, right? Let me go there. So if I go there, and it is, what is the, actually can you see this is lowercase SELECT. So here I'll have to give lowercase set. Now I have the object there. Now the remaining thing I'm going to write. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste from a previous function. Okay, now so here this is the object. This is the object, and probably it doesn't have a is displayed attribute. Let me see what attribute it has. Dot get all select get us get option hash code to select. Let me see. It doesn't have a is displayed. So what we are going to do, instead of writing this if else, we are going to make it straightforward. We are going to put this object dot if you type s, select by index, select by value, select by visible text, right? Select by value, select by visible text, select by index. Like let's say if you select by index, right, then if you go there. So if you come here, can you see how many 1 2 3 4 up to this one? The first element, the index of the first element is 0, the index of the second element is 2, the index of the third element is 3, the index of the fourth element is 4, right? The index of the fourth element is 4. So let's say that we are going to select the object this 4. So if you select it by if I go back to my code, if you select it by what is called index, right? What is the index we are going to select? The index will be, if we want to select 4, the index will be 3, right? So now if you, let's say I'm going to put a statement here, selecting a value in the passenger drop down, right? Now so if you put 3, it will be selecting 4. Why? Because the index start from 0, and then the first element has index 0, second element has index 1, third element has index 2, fourth element has index 4. So let me close it and let me start execution again. So there could be a problem here, or is there any problem actually? Let me see. Actually we didn't call that method, right? Select passenger count. So what I'll have to do, I'll have to go there and then leave obj dot, right? Now if you execute it again, close this. Can you see it was able to select 4 here? Okay, now we are if you take a look here, so to do a recap, in order to select something from the drop down list, first of all you will have to create an object of select class, right? And inside that you will have to give your identification, right? And then you can select object by different way. Let's say if you want to select scl obj dot let me do another object. So I'm going to identify, let's say here I'm going to select one passenger, let's say what is called let's keep it index 3. Now next object I'm going to select is something from this, right? So if you want to select something from this, inspect it. So this is a departing from, right? This is a departing from. If you inspect, let's inspect it again, right? Can you see again this is a select, and what is the name? From port. What is the name? From port, right? So let's go there, name from port. So if you come here in the code, right, select from port, and then here again select name. What is the attribute there? you go there and copy this attribute from code, right? And now I'm not going to select by visible text or visible index. I'm going to say select by visible text. Now if you go there, so can you see we have different cities. Let's say I'm going to select Sydney, right? So in this case I'm going to put the visible text here, right? And then I'm going to call this method from there, selecting a value in the from city. If you come here, lib obj dot lib obj dot, right? Now let's say that if you execute it, right? Let me execute it. Right, can you see it was able to select Sydney from here? Okay, let me show you one other thing. Let's say this value you are getting from a data file, so that means you will have to get it somewhere from here and then you'll have to pass it from here. So how will you do that? You put it here, Sydney, or let's say another city. I'm going to say Zurich, right? Let's say there is a city there called Zurich. So I'm going to send here Zurich, okay? And over there, remember that you are passing, when you are calling this method, you are passing this value from here. So what you will have to do here you will have to receive it as string str from city, right? So the value that you are passing from here is going to be stored here in the str from city, and then we are going to, instead of Sydney, we are going to put that variable here. Now if you run it, you will see that okay, can you see Zurich is selected here, 4 is selected here. What about, let's say that instead of here, instead of index 3, you want to select index 2, which is index 2, or let's say you want to get this 2 from here, you want to pass it from here, right? 2 means passenger, 3 passenger, right? So if you come here, again this value is integer, right? int s count, and then you are passing 2 from there, and that 2 is going to be saved here, and then instead of this you put it here. Now you'll see 3 will be selected, because yeah, let me execute it again, let me close it. Right, can you see 3, Zurich is selected, okay? Alright, so next task, we are going to select all of this value from here, and then we are going to click continue, okay? We are going to click continue, and from there I will be showing you how you can there is an there is a requirement that you will have to select, you will have to highlight this, right? You will have to highlight this. Now what city you are passing is Zurich. You are passing Zurich, and here you'll have to identify this object. That is where you said you are having difficulties, so I'll show you how you can identify this object. But before that, let me put some other code that will be selecting other values from the previous page. So I'll show you how you can identify this object. Okay, now let me put this code, and I'm going to come to live again. Now if you take a look, I have another method here that we are selecting a to city, right, to port, and then we are going to call this method from here, libobj dot, right, and then we are going to pass this city from here. Let's say we want to go to Zurich to Paris, right? Now here we are going to say string to city, and we are going to put that to city here, and then let's say the remaining values I'm going to keep default, and I'm going to click continue, right? To click on that continue button, what is your way, right? So this is how you click. Can you see this is the input, and it has a name attribute and reserved flights or whatever. Let me go back. Actually, let me come back to that page and do this continue. So now I have this to city, and let me execute it. So something is oh, did I call this? There is a failure here. Let me see where is the failure. Oh, this to city, right? Remember that this is a variable, so variable doesn't go into the quotation, right? Okay, this to city, and then we'll have to click on this continue button. I'm not going to select, you will be selecting the remaining object, but I'm going to click on this continue button. I'm going to write a method for this, right? So what is that name? Find flights, right? It is the input, and name find flights. So let me go there. Let me copy a method from a previous right. So continue, click continue, that's a click continue, right? And then here I'm going to have clicking on continue, and then what is the attribute that I have? It is the input, and then it has name find flights, right? It is the input, it has name, and then what is the value of the name? Find flights, and then what is the name of this object? Let's say continue button, right? Let me put this. continue button, continue button, continue button, continue button, continue button, right? And then I'm going to call this from there. Continue button. Okay. Now if you run it, right? Now we are in this page. Now can you see you have selected Zurich and you have selected Paris, right? From city Zurich and to city Paris. Now you have to make sure that these two cities, right? There is an object displayed. There is an object displayed Zurich to Paris. We are going from Zurich to Paris, right? So you'll have to make sure that this object is displayed here. Now this object, it depends on, can you see this date? It depends on what dates you are selecting there in the previous page. So you'll have to verify whatever you are selecting there. You'll have to verify. Now how will you verify that? You know that you have passed Zurich and Paris, right? You have passed Zurich and Paris. So in this case what we are going to do, we are going to form a dynamic array, so dynamic object. So let's say we are going to declare here string from city equal to Zurich, right? And then string to city equal to Paris, right? Now what we are going to do here, we are going to pass frm city. Here we are going to pass to city, right? Now next task, we are going to write another method, this one, public verify from to displayed. I'm giving any name, right? Now here this will receive two parameters. One is string frm city, another one is string to city, right? And then what we are going to do, if you take a look here, right click, inspect, right click, inspect. Now can you see here, this is a font text, this is a font tag, and what is the value? Can you see it has a text? Can you see this greater than sign and this less than sign? If you double click on it, this font has a text, right? This font has a text, and with the text, can you see it has some can you see this blue area? This is empty space. So that means we do not know how many empty spaces are there. We know one thing, that it has Zurich to Paris. So the syntax that we have to use in this case is this, right? XPath tag contains text. Can you see contains text, right? So we'll have to use this attribute. If I make it bigger, right, we'll have to use this attribute tag, that is input font, right, and we'll have to use this contains word, and then we'll have to use text, and we'll have to put the text that we can see. We do not know how many spaces, so this is called regular expression. If you use contains, we are going to use Zurich to Paris, right? Now if you copy this, from here to here, right, and let's go there in the method itself. Here we have to put this. Let me remove this, right? So again, let me write it for you to make your life easier, right? What is my tag name? Font. After that I'll have to put this. Now what is the thing I'll have to put? Contains, right? Actually let me put, okay, contains, and then in the contains I'll have to put this, right? Font contains, and inside here I'll have to put text, right? Text, and then this, and then this, and after that I'll have to do what? The text, whatever text I am looking for, Now remember that my text is a variable. My text, what do I have, right? My text is a variable. Now this from city and this to city, right? So here what I'll have to do, as my text are in the variable, what I'll have to do, I come here and then let me put it in this way. So it will be displaying from city to city. So I'm going to put this from city. Now to do that I'll have to put, can you see my string started from here? I'm going to end this string here, and then I'm going to put a plus, and then I'm going to put that variable. Remember, variable you cannot put it in the double quotation, so I have break that string. Now can you see from city? Now I'll have to put 2 plus, and then you put that space, and then how does it looks like here? 2 lowercase, right? Then you put this 2 here, and then there is a space, and then you put another plus, and then you include that to city. Include that to city, and then the remaining part. Remember that from here to here, this is another syntax. So I'm going to put this here to city, and then plus the remaining syntax, right? So let me just remove one of this extra thing. Now it will be better. Let's do it in that way. Let's do it in this, so it will be easier for you. String, and then str from to equal to, now what is your from city? This plus, then we'll have a 2 space and then plus 2 city, right? Now str from 2, that is where is going to be here. I'm going to remove everything, make it easier, right? Now here, remember that whatever you put here, it will be in the quotation, right? So to do it in the quotation, what you will have to do, first let me try in this way. Let me put this, actually str from 2, I'll have to put this, and then I'll have to put this, and then in between I'll have to put this plus, and then I'll have to put it in this way. Okay, now from 2, you can give any name, right? And then I'm going to say display, and then if it is this, and then what is that object? From 2, and then from 2 is not displayed. And then I don't need to click on anything here, I just need to verify this. Right, now let me call this. Dot. You might have to correct something, but let me see if it works. Okay. Now here what are we passing? We are passing this from city, and then we are passing this to city. Now let me save and execute it. Okay, so here let's see if it is able to identify that object. Now if you go up, it was not able to identify, right? It was not able to identify. Let's see what is the error it is throwing. So it is saying that browser name, and can you see Zurich to Paris contains text this. Let me do a little bit analysis on it. Okay, so if you take a look here, one of the changes that I have to make, remember if you do it in this way, right? If you put it in this way, so why I'm putting this in a variable, because it is, the value is in the variable, number one. Number two, why I'm using plus, because if you have a variable you cannot put it in the double quotation, so I have break that string here, and then I put a plus, and then I put the variable, and then I put another plus here, and then I put it in this way. Now if you run it, right, if you run it, you will see there is a problem here. The problem is, I'll tell you in a minute. Right, now if you go there, if you scroll up, you will see that the syntax that it was able to generate is this, Zurich to Paris. But remember that according to this text will have to be in the single quotation. Can you see this two single quotation? That is what we have missed. So what we will have to do here in the code itself, we'll have to make a little bit modification. Can you see? So before that I'll have to put this single quotation, and after this text I'll have to put another single quotation. Now if you run it, right, you'll see that it will be able to identify that object. Right, can you see now it is able to identify this object? So that is how you are going to identify. This is kind of a dynamic object. So that is how you are going to form dynamic object and identify it. Remember, depending on what date you are flying and what date you are returning, this date will be dynamic as well. So I am leaving this work for you so that you generate this date and you verify this object. And same way you will be able to identify any object, let's say this one, any object from this space. If you see something is not dynamic, then you can directly put the text there. Remember, do not put any space, just use text contents and use the actual text, right? So that's all. So to do a recap, what we did, we have passed this from city and to city as a variable in this method, and we have taken this value in this two variable. We have formed this sentence, right, Zurich to Paris, and then we have added it here, right, with the variable. And this is a very good thing you should know, like how I have identified that dynamic object by using variable and contains that text. So that is what I wanted to discuss today. So your task is to finish that test case, all of this test case, and come up. I want you to review and go through this video multiple times so that you are fully familiar with whatever we have discussed today. And I know it was a long video. Thank you for your patience. I'll talk to you in the class. Bye.